Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and before we move on from the 1970s, let's talk 1970s cyborg superhero motorcycles. The new Cyclone is the ride that carried Rider 1 and Rider 2 into the 21st century crossover movie era, and it got two different SH Figuarts releases to boot. There's a solo version and a bigger box version that also includes a new color variant of New Rider 1, and I'm gonna look at both! Try and stop me! To start this review by talking about the bike itself, I'll first be focusing on the solo release version. What an awkward sentence. Anyway, the new Cyclone. It's got a great sculpt that captures the look of that retro nouveau upgraded retro chic retro motorcycle, showcasing a very particular bony cream hue with some solid red detail paint in all the right places. Flats and metallics play off each other properly, and the tampography is pleasant to the eye. This is a Figuarts bike, so check it. The front wheel turns with the handlebars, for which there are spares in case you snap them off. The kickstand works, and there's working spring suspension for those of you who like to press softly on the backs of small bikes. You've got a clear stand to cup the rear wheel, but! There's also a peg hole on the underside of the new Cyclone to allow for airborne motocross displays without relying on really awkward uses of the Tamashii stage's smaller waist clips. I love this and wish it had been the standard from day one on SH Figuarts rider machines. There are also a pair of Cyclone cutters to represent the Cyclone attack maneuver. They just plug in, and even though it wouldn't always be accurate, I wouldn't think less of anybody that just left them in. Tiny wings on old motorcycles are basically always cool, and tiny plastic wings that you might knock off your desk and brush under your couch are basically always irritating. Alright, that covers the solo version, so let's see what's different in the set that includes New Rider 1. And let's begin by comparing the pack-in New Rider 1 to his own solo release. He includes all the same accessories, the tray designs are just wildly different to accommodate the intended box size. As for the figure itself, the advertised differences boil down to a more muted color scheme. While this is somewhat visible in the green chest, it is most apparent on the helmet, which is now a matte green as opposed to a metallic green. I believe this also reflects changes to the new Rider 1 suit over the years, but that is a pool of trivia that I am terrible at keeping track of, and generally turn to bothering Egadevil for the answers. Moving on to the new Cyclones, would you believe that they have identical trays? This is huge news for those concerned about economic plastic tray production. I totally need to write 3 sentences about it in the script to pad out time for the B-roll. The major differences between the bikes are on the front cowling. The pack-in version has less red paint, with the sculpted cutoff occurring visibly lower, and no blue paint inside of the headlight channels. As I've been told, this makes it more accurate to an earlier version of the bike mostly seen in the original series. So if you want things to look accurate to all the modern team-up movies that the Double Riders have appeared in, you'll actually want 2 copies of the blue headlight-channeled solo release. This Figuarts rider machine goes the extra little mile between its Tamashii stage peg hole and insertable Cyclone cutter parts, and it's the modern motorcycle for the original Kamen Riders. If ever there was a time to spend the extra money to give some cyborg superheroes their major vehicular accessories, this would be that time. But which version should you get? For full modern accuracy, 2 solo new Cyclones for the Figuarts releases of New Rider 1 and New Rider 2 will have you set. But let's say you can't find those figures anymore. There are some tiny color variances, but if you just friggin' want a friggin' original Kamen Rider on a matching friggin' original bike, the 2-pack is fine. It's not perfect, its accuracy is based on some real retro niches, but most of the living, breathing, speaking world will not think any less of you, especially if you aren't going for massive SHF rider displays. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I would highly recommend checking out Egadevil's Retro Rider Machine Figuarts chart if you're as confused as I was, and often return to being, about all the different release packages that have come out for the Retro Rider bikes. Unless you're a hardcore completionist who's literally buying everything, in which case, you have my condolences.